Hi, Vectorworks settings. This is probably part 3, and this will be the last one on that. Let's go back into our tools pull down, right? Look, here is my Vectorworks. 15 minutes has elapsed since the last operation was performed. You want to do a backup copy, right? Do you want to make a backup copy now? And I could say yes, and it would make a backup. This is not a saved drawing, and I don't need to save it, so I'm going to say no. If I were drafting in my normal process, I would absolutely say yes and say, look, 15 minutes went by, I want to save the drawing, but for now I'll say no. So here we are in our pull down menu, and to get to those autosave options, we were in Vectorworks preferences. I want to go somewhere else. This time I want to go up to our smart cursor settings. In the drafting of objects, we've been talking about those smart cursor settings, where it identifies the corner, where it identifies the edge, the midpoint. So let's go over and look at our smart cursor settings, and this will take us into our general. So within our smart cursor settings, we have show the smart cursor cues, which are the little boxes, show snap points, and show combined page area. I don't even know what that means, but I would just leave it checked. When in doubt, I would leave things checked, right? So this is the way it should appear natively. You shouldn't have to change anything here. We do have a couple of things that we may want to adjust over time, and the next we'll talk about a grid. I haven't spoken about the grid, but this is where we adjust the grid, and we have two different kinds of grids. We have a grid that we snap to, right? Which means that our cursor will only select points that are on the grid. And right now our grid is symmetrical, and it's 1 inch by 1 inch. There is also a thing known as a reference grid, and we'll go in and we'll look at that in a little bit. And the reference grid is a series of blue lines like graph paper. The reference grid is exactly like graph paper, and we can control the size of our reference grid. We can show the grid on our page, and we can also print the grid. We will be interacting with this grid information, both the snap grid and the reference grid, a little bit. Let's look at object. These are all of the different types of snapping points: end point, midpoint of an edge, the center point, quadrant, insertions, These are all the different object points that are shown on our drawing and that we can interact with. Angles, this is angles from the axes, right? Alternate coordinate systems. Again, you shouldn't have to change anything that's here. Smart points should not need to change anything here. Smart edge, again, should be fine, and distance, fine. Distances by default are listed as fractions, i.e. 0.25 equals a quarter inch, 0.5 is a half inch. That's usually for typing purposes. I can type 0.25 faster than I can type 1/4. If you want to change your snaps and your dimensioning to quarter inch, right, to an actual fraction, you can do so here, right? So these are the smart cursor settings. Again, the grid is the one that we're going to interact with most. However, I will cover that in its own separate complete video. I will hit cancel for this. You may choose to hit OK, and that will end this video. Thank you.